Hello and welcome to my Yugioh channel. Make sure to like the video if you enjoy it and don't forget to subscribe. So today marks the information regarding the OCG ban list. As you know, the new one came into effect for the TCG as of the 14th of September. So I'm now providing you with my opinions on the new ban list cards. So the first card is Red Eye's Dark Dragoon. This is a Dark Attribute Spellcaster Fusion effect monster, which is level 8 with 3000 attack and 2500 defense. The fusion materials are Dark Magician and Red Eye's Black Dragon. And the fusion material can also be either Dark Magician or a 1-dragon effect monster. And the effect is it cannot be destroyed by card effects. Neither player can target this card with card effects. During your main phase, you can destroy one monster your opponent controls, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. You can use this effect a number of times per turn, up to the number of normal monsters used as fusion material for this card. Once per turn, when a card or effect is activated as a quick effect, you can discard one card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. And if you do that, this card gains 1000 attack. This is the definition of an unbalanced card. Konami, before making cards, they tend to play test the different effects. Therefore, they're not too broken, they're not too damaging, they're not going to make people think, oh, I need to quit as soon as I see this card summoned. Especially with the fusion card Red Eye's Fusion, it makes it so easy to bring this card out that it's a bit of a joke that they actually ever created this card in the first place. I'm not surprised it's banned within literally less than a format within the OCG, as I can easily see this happening when this gets released. You know, we get our new TCG one at, earliest December 14th. When we get that, definitely this card, I can see it definitely being on the ban list. The ability not to be destroyed by card effects means that you're getting rid of any real way of dealing with this card. Of course, you've got like banishing effects and removal effects, such as sending cards to the graveyard, which is a way of countering this card. Also, being unable to target it with card effects means that you're quite limited in how you're removing it. Things like Drowning Mirror Force are an example of how to do that, or you could use a Kaiju, a Lava Golem. There are options out there, but just a lot fewer of them. Another disadvantage is you've just basically got a Ring of Destruction effect, a better than a Ring of Destruction effect within the effect, within its effect as well, to destroy an opponent's monster, and they take attack. There is no limitation on this as well. Normally, cards with this kind of destruction effect are not able to attack for the turn, or there is some sort of reduction in stats or something that will kind of incentivize the opponent to only use that effect as and when they need to use it. But this doesn't have that limitation. If you look at something like Exploded Dragon Wing, that card's effect only works on monsters that have equivalent attack to it or lower. This works on anything. So long as your opponent has a monster, that's it. It goes to the grave. It doesn't have to be face up. It could be set, and this would still work. And this effect can be used up to twice per turn. If you've used the Dark Magician and the Red Eye's Black Dragon, that's the intended targets for it. That's why you can use it up to twice in a turn. Your opponent could be really, dealt a massive blow if they have to deal with this card. That's kind of the reason why the other fusion material has to be a dragon effect monster. So this effect can't be used more than what it's meant to be used as. The reason for having both the Dark Magician and the Red Eye's Black Dragon is potentially that could clog up your hand if you draw into something bad. And also the thing is, and I hate this effect being a quick effect, that you can negate an opponent's card effect once per turn, and the attack stat increase means using it one or two times. It's already a 3000 attack monster. Getting over it is not going to happen very easily. I think you have things like Utopia, the lightning, that can get over this and can actually prevent your opponent from activating anything. But you're going to have to have decoyed the negation effect first in order to use that effect. It just does not need to be here, and I think it's going to have to be one of those that you won't see back at all, unless they make a specific counter for this, in which case they might consider unbanning it or limiting it to 1. The other forbidden card is Numbers S0 Utopic Zeal. It's a light attribute warrior Exceeds monster with 0 attack. Well, it's got a 0 rank on it, and it's got a question mark on its attack and defense. It requires 3 number Exceeds monsters with the same rank. So you can have, like, it could be rank 4, rank 3. So long as it basically is a number and it equates to this, it's fine. This card's original rank is always treated as 1. You can also exceed summon this card by discarding 1 rank up magic normal spell card, then using a Utopia monster you control as the Exceeds material. Transfer its Exceeds materials to this card. This card's Exceeds summon cannot be negated. When Exceeds summoned, your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated. It gains 1000 attack and defense for each Exceeds material attached to it, and once per opponent's turn, as a quick effect, you can detach 1 Exceeds material from this card. Your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated this turn. This card is incredibly brutal for what it can do. It is an awful card to deal with. It's a nightmare. Many people, as soon as they see this card, basically quit the game, just kind of rage quit, or they just, throw down their cards. I would say if it was just for the initial summoning of it, that it was just the 3 number Exceeds monsters with the same rank, then it's a little bit more difficult to bring out. But the problem is, Utopia is a thing. You can actually rank Utopia up a number of times, and it would still be classified as a Utopia monster. So you could get so many materials on it. The other thing is, if you've got the rank up, so long as you've got the rank up card, you discard that, you instantly get this card. You can't shut this card's summon down, which is a nuisance. So you can't you can't do anything like a bottomless trap hole. You can't do anything about, and your opponent's card and effects cannot be activated when it's summoned, which means there is no response you can make. The fact that it gains 1000 attack and defense means that you're usually starting it off with at least 3000 attack, and actually you're able to prevent your opponent from doing anything on their turn. So they can set these cards, but they can't respond, and that means that actually you can get over them very easily. You can suppress them to a point where they can't respond to anything. This is also used within a brand new deck as well. It's been supported heavily by Don Thousand's deck, which were the number monsters. This is my concern and part of the reason why this was introduced within the Forbidden list. I can see it being on there permanently for a significant amount of time. Yes, you can out it in some ways, but often it does require you to basically protect yourself for a number of turns until you can get it down enough to kind of run over it. But usually by that time, your opponent will have had enough advantage to kind of win the game outright. Okay, so the next set of cards are the semi-limited cards. So that means that you can, well, no, they're limited cards. So that means you can only run 1 of them. The first is Girisu, the Orcust Mech Knight. It's a dark attribute machine type level 4 with 1800 attack and 0 defense. The effect is, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can send 1 Orcust or World Legacy card from your deck to the graveyard. Then, if there are 2 or more other cards in this card's column, treat this card as a tuner this turn. If you control no other monsters, you can special summon 1 World Legacy token with the following stats on it. It's a machine dark level 1, attack 0, defense 0 to both players' fields in defense position. You can only use each effect of Girisu, the Orcust Mech Knight, once per turn. So the reason I think this card is been limited to 1 is because It's to do with Halofibrax, Halofibrax, I think it's called, or needle fiber as it's known in the OCG. Basically, turning itself into a tuner means you can use this and one other card, and then you can instantly use the token as well. That means you can go into that link monster, and once you go into Halofibrax, that's usually how all these degenerate plays are started. So I can see why this has been needed to kind of shut down for it. The other limited card is 1-for-1. This is a normal spell card with the effect send one monster from your hand to the graveyard, special summon one level 1 monster from your hand or deck. The purpose of this is for things like Glow Up Bulb. There are other level 1 monsters that you either want to get into the graveyard or to have on the field, it's generally used for a synchro-based deck to try and tune into, the different synchro monsters to kind of sync up into the highest ones. Having it at 3 would have been too much, but at least leaving it at 1 means you've got some way of using it. There are ways of recovering it, such as Magician of Faith and other support cards, but I'm glad it's kind of cut down to the 1 just because it's a little bit, it's fairer this way. The next set of cards are the semi-limited cards, which means that you can actually have 2 of these cards. The first one is Memories of Hope, and it's a normal spell card with the effect draw cards equal to the number it exceeds monsters with different names you control. You can only activate 1 Memories of Hope per turn. This card, I don't know why it is semi-limited and not limited or banned. Again, with the Don 1000 deck, you've got various number monsters which can be summoned in the same turn, and because they're all treated with different, they all have different names to them, you can essentially draw 4 cards from that effect. You're plussing so much that actually, even if you were to lose those cards, you're not having any disadvantage because you'll have drawn basically equivalent to it. So even if the attacks don't work to finish off your opponent, this is always a backup, and it's just a nightmare. I don't actually understand Konami's thinking behind this decision. The next card is Nadir Servant. This is a normal spell card with the effect send 1 monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, then add 1 Dogmatica monster or 1 Fallen of Albaz from your deck or graveyard to your hand, with attack less than or equal to that sent monsters. For the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon from the extra deck. You can only activate 1 Nadir Servant per turn. I don't actually understand what this or why this has been semi-limited. I know Dogmatica has been very powerful as a stun deck against extra decks, and is actually kind of almost going into the meta, I'd have to say, as opposed to what it was initially meant to be as an anti-meta deck. It is a search card, and it does have the restrictions on, only searching to a certain amount, so it can be a bit of a cost, but I just don't understand why you would potentially run 3 of them. I know you want to deck thin, but other than that, I'm still very confused by that. So with Called by the Grave, this is a quick play spell card with the effect target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard, banish it, and if you do, until the end of the next turn, its effects are negated, as well as the activated effects and effects on the field of monsters with the same original name. This card, I can see why it's gone to semi-limited, and is kind of a similar kind of thinking to how the TCG has worked. I think when it's used against opponents who have got the advantage, that's really good, because it kind of slows down the game enough to, where people can have some fun, there's some more interaction. But also this card is often used by people who have actually got the advantage at the time being and just use this to kind of stop all your hand traps. So that's kind of why it's received this restriction. But other than that, I don't know why it's happened. I don't think it's going to have so much of a price drop as opposed to the TCG, which has got a further restriction to it. The next set of cards are the ones that have been completely unlimited, which means you can play up to 3 of. This first one is White Dragon Wyver Burster. It's a light attribute dragon level 4 with 1700 attack and 1800 defense. The effect is it cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned from your hand by banishing one dark monster from your graveyard. You can only special summon one white dragon wyvern burster once per turn this way. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one black dragon serpent from your deck to your hand. So the whole two cards actually interact with each other. The white helps to summon the dark and vice versa. They were used for the guard dragon plays in order to eventually end up with your Red Eyes Darkness Battle Dragon and then your various other powerful dragons on the field, which is why they have been limited and forbidden in the past. But I think with certain restrictions out there, this is why it's no longer so much of a threat. The other thing as well is since you're getting rid of the biggest threat, which was the Dragoon, the fusion monster, there is less of a reason for players to kind of use the cards. So even if they are planning to use them, you are able to counteract it a lot easier, considering the big boss monster is a little bit mellowed out for the time being. Yugioh, this Destroyer is a dark attribute warrior effect monster, level 4 with 1600 attack and 1200 defense. During the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can activate trap cards from your hand. So I think they had the same thinking between the TCG and the OCG. Most people aren't playing that many trap cards, and the ones they do tend to be activated from the hand anyway. Red Reboot, Infinite Impermanence, to name two. There are probably more out there that I am not naming. So they thought, might as well, since people aren't really using trap cards anyway, we might as well restrict this. I don't see this being a big deal. I don't see your opponent kind of like thinking, oh, this is going to be a massive concern. And actually, if this is sent to the graveyard, I don't think your opponent is going to do anything that's going to let you activate traps from, they're not going to have an excuse to try and, go for extra battle in case, they get a Drowning Mirror Force or something else happen to them. The next card is Necro Face. This is a dark attribute zombie level 4 with 1200 attack and 1800 defense. The effect is if this card is normal summoned, shuffle all banished cards into the deck. This card gains 100 attack for each card shuffled into the main deck by this effect. If this card is banished, each player banishes 5 cards from the top of their deck or their entire deck, if less than 5. This is the one of the cards I don't understand why they've unlimited. Gren Marju Daiza is a nightmare to deal with, and this card actually helps to boost up its stats. It's also a nightmare with things like the Golden Castle of Strongberg and being able to banish cards. And manipulating the banish zone is what it does. It's considered a bit of a degenerate card for what it can do, and actually accelerates how the deck with Gren Marju Daiza works. It's just too powerful to have at 3. I would love to hear their rationale and explanation behind this. I just think out of everything, this was a mistake, and you're going to see a lot more of those style. The next card is Red Eyes Fusion. This is a normal spell card with the effect Fusion Summon one fusion monster that lists a Red Eyes monster as material from your extra deck, using monsters from your hand, deck, or field as fusion materials. And if you do, its name becomes Red Eyes Black Dragon. You cannot normal or special summon other monsters the turn you activate this card. You can only activate one Red Eyes Fusion per turn. I don't have a concern about this card, considering that the Dragoon is gone, because it's, the biggest monsters out there are kind of been removed from it. Running it at 3 isn't an issue. You do have Meteor Black Dragon, you've got some other cards which can, like the Black Skull Dragon, which can be summoned from this effect, but generally they're just beat stick monsters. They don't have any effects around them, even if you were to use things like some of the other support. It's not that big of a deal countering it. It being a normal spell card means that if you've got counter traps, you can shut this down. There's so many ways of negating it. It's just no longer a threat. And the final card from the unlimited list is Personal Spoofing. This is a continuous trap card with the effect, once per turn you can shuffle one Altergeist card from your hand or face up from your field into the deck. Add one Altergeist monster from your deck to your hand. I'm not really so sure why this is kind of restricted in the past or how it has been like semi-limited. Altergeist, I think, was popular with some people. And I know they had that kind of combo where if one was summoned and another was on the field, you could return that one to the hand, and then you could return one of your opponent's monsters. So it was annoying and disruptive as well. So it kind of counted a lot of extra deck cards. And this does provide a lot more consistency, but I don't see that many people running Altergeists anyway. So I don't think it's actually changing it from 2 to 3 is going to make any real difference. So that's what my thoughts are for the OCG. Whatever you think about it, what are your favourite cards, what were you shocked about, and what were the ones that you're disappointed by? Mention those in the comments. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe.